G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, an NFL podcast brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. We are back today, episode 232 in the life of G'day Gridiron, and I'm joined by two gentlemen that started the entire thing with me, one at the very, very beginning and one that came in that first season. Manjot is back in the building. OG, GG, how you going, mate?
Yeah, going really well. It's been a long time since I've been on G'Day Gridiron. I think it's almost been a year, probably since this time last year when we did the same episode. So it's great to be back with you two boys. I mean, I've been missing the pod so much, but look, Isaac, Nick, they've been awesome as co-hosts with you two, and you two have just kept keeping the ship going. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, Brad, it is great to have all three of us back together again on a podcast.
It is. Blast from the past. It's nice to all of us to be back together.
And the reason we are back together is a little exercise that we started 5 years ago, way back at the beginning. We talked about redrafting a class. Now, everybody does a redraft like a few months or even up to a year after a NFL draft happens. Because, of course, you get all these grades and these straight after the draft, and then they redraft the draft to see how much better people know of it, during a season or after a season. But we were always of the belief that it takes up until that first contract is signed, that first contract after the rookie contract, to truly know what a player is, who a player is, what their skill set are like. Are they a boom? Are they a bust? So that is what we're back to do. This is something that we started way back when. We are now up to redrafting the 2022 NFL draft. What a draft the 2022 NFL draft was. It's just the names that are on this list of players now are some of the greatest, Brad, in the NFL currently.
They are. And if they continue on this trajectory, we're looking at some Hall of Famers in this class, which not every class can say that. So it's pretty cool to be able to look at this, and we'll get into it later, but and some of the position groups are woeful. So to still have a good draft class when you don't have good quality position groups across the board is even more of a rare thing.
Yeah. Now, Manjot, something else that's special about this year is that we've been getting, you and Maddie specifically, AGN guys have been getting into a lot more long-form writing via Substack, which you can find our Substack at Aussie Gridiron Network if you look for that at Substack. Manjot and Maddie have been doing a lot more long-form writing. This year, Manjot has done for us a regrade of every team's draft grade from 2022. So he looked at the team's overall grade class, their entire draft, and regraded that based on who these players are right now, MJ.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long exercise. I'll tell you, it took me about 3 hours to go through almost every play, which is actually pretty faster than I thought, really. But honestly, it was great to look back on it. I remember the first draft we looked back on doing this exercise was the 2019 draft back in 2023. So I guess next year when we do this again, we'll be back to 2023, which will be like a full circle moment. So it's really interesting just looking back at this 2022 draft. I remember last year we looked at that 2021 draft, and it was wild, that one, with 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. And you had so many great contributors all across the board at different positions taken. So looking at the 2022 draft, to follow such a great draft in 2021 with a pretty good draft, I wouldn't say it's as good as 2021, but I think it follows up pretty well. I sort of remembers this bit of NFL history, sort of nerdiness for me, but 2011, probably the best draft I've seen. And then 2012 was actually a pretty good draft as well. It's like you sort of follow the year ending in 1, which is a generational draft, with the year ending in 2, which is actually a pretty damn good draft as well. So just a random pattern I've just sort of noticed there.
He's already, we're 10 minutes in, and he's getting nerdy.
Yes, he is. I'll have to bring the drop back if he keeps doing this, Brad.
Yeah, no doubt.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look through Manjot's redraft article, and we're going to have a look at some of the lows, the teams that moved the most, the ones that are just absolute busts now, and then we're going to have a look at those who absolutely hit it out of the park. If you want to follow along, if you want to have a look at all of the meat and potatoes in the article, again, look for Aussie Gridiron Network on Substack. You can also follow all of our Facebook pages, the Aussie Gridiron Network one, Manjot's Pastry Press NFL, Instagram as well. He will post links to those when the article goes live. And of course, you could go right now if you wanted to and read up on some fantasy articles Matty's been doing on different position groups. Make sure you do that as well. But you can go and check out the rest of this. Let's kick it off with the very bottom, Manjot. The teams that moved the absolute most, and you have given some of the worst grades to. Let's go with the Tennessee Titans. Now, the original consensus grade, and we grabbed a consensus here, a real big board that I found from someone online that had put together everybody's initial grades, their class grades, team class grades, and then basically done that as a consensus with a GPA, and then you put an A through F designation to those. So the consensus big board had the Tennessee Titans straight after the draft as a B-. Manjot, very, very interesting. You gave the Titans an F.
Oh boy, yeah, I was not really a fan of this draft when looking back on it. When I was writing this article, I was just like, yep, this was a disaster for the Titans. It started off in the first round. They traded away their star receiver, A.J. Brown, to the Eagles. That was a massive disaster of a trade.
Massive.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they used that pick to pick Treylon Burks, and he didn't work out either, replacing A.J. Brown. And I think that's where it really started. They didn't really have much going for them. Their best contributor in that whole draft was, ironically, Chig Okonkwo, the tight end. He was their best contributor that I could really think of. He's the only one, I think, still starting on the team at this point in time. So they really did not have a good draft. I mean, Malik Willis, we've seen him now do well in Green Bay and earn a big payday in Miami. But when he was at Tennessee, he didn't do much. So, look, all of that stuff doesn't get added into a Tennessee grade for the draft as well. So, I mean, they had some potential there, but I don't think any of the players really lived up to the potential, maybe except for Chig Okonkwo, which, if he's your best player, you've got to give it an F, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. Just purely from the standpoint of they pick him in the fourth round. So one of the factors I always look at is value in terms of where they draft and what they produce. And you're getting a fourth round draft pick. You're hoping that they're a starter, but you're not expecting it. But I would agree with you. And their second round pick, the cornerback Roger McCreary, he was decent. He wasn't good or anything, but he was decent. But you're right, that trade, I don't think we can overstate just how bad that trade was. And I remember him when they did that, everybody was saying, well, you're just doing like for like, you're just kind of getting a younger version. But man, he has not been a younger version. He's a backup at best. So it's just, that Burks has been a bomb more than anything else.
Gosh, ask Taylor, our mate over there. He was very pissed off when AJ Brown was traded, and probably more now as well, I would say.
Well, yeah, considering what you got for it, which was absolutely nothing. So, because Burks has only played in, I think, like 35 games, as I read the other day. So he doesn't even have a total of over 1,000 yards yet. He hasn't even hit 1,000 yards in his career. So that shows you how bad he is.
Yeah, he was waived
Yeah.
mid-season last year and then went on to Washington as well. So they cut him like in his fourth season. That's how bad
Yeah.
they just cut their losses. It was awful for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And the number 18 pick. And that goes, again, it kind of goes to show, you'd think it's not like it's a quarterback. Quarterbacks kind of, they only succeed, 50% of the time. But a wide receiver, you'd think they would have done their due diligence. And, at the 18, a mid-round first draft pick, you would expect that they would know what they're getting.
Yeah, you would. And similar to that grade for the Titans, the Pittsburgh Steelers initially had a B- grade as a consensus. Now with picking players like Kenny Pickett, who was supposed to be Big Ben's successor, and then he was basically out of there, being traded to Philly within his rookie contract. So 2 seasons later, got George Pickens in the second round, and then some other guys, some also Rands. Manjot, very, very wisely, very astutely, also gave them an F for that rookie class and that draft class. Manjot, it's no surprise at all, considering if you just look at those 2 players alone, their top 2 picks.
Yeah, I think it was very controversial. I think this could be my most controversial F grade just because of Pickens, because he's such a good player, but I don't think he really worked out for the Steelers. That's why I think his best season was on your Cowboys there, Brad. I mean, you must have loved watching him last season. He had 1,400 yards. Yeah.
I don't think I know his best season was last season. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think look, he's up there as in the top 5 receivers from that draft class, because we also did that exercise and we had a look at position groups and their value, as Brad pointed out earlier, their value as a player compared to where they were picked. And certainly Pickens now at Dallas would earn himself essentially an A- as a value grade. And he's in that top 5. But yeah, when you look at it from the Steelers' perspective on drafting him and how they clearly underutilized him because of whatever instability there was with Mike Tomlin, it's a solid whiff.
Yeah, and I feel like if Pickens worked out, I'd probably move this to about a D or so grade, because he's a pretty great player. If he was playing like he was last season with Dallas in Pittsburgh, I would have moved him up for sure with this grade. But really, I just think, the Steelers, they could have used a lot more. I think it really started with the Pickett pick at number 20 there. I think when that just failed for them and he couldn't throw the football that well and everything for the Steelers, and he was cut within 2 seasons, traded to the Eagles within 2 seasons, that really showed, this draft was going downhill. And I think it was probably the start of the end for Tomlin as well. I think a lot of these sort of drafts, I could see the trend where if you failed, you fail a lot and your coach or GM or both get fired, because if this is a disaster, then the next 3 or 4 seasons were a disaster as well. That's how important the 22 draft was for a lot of teams. And I think for the Steelers, they're definitely one of those teams where I feel like, it was really the beginning of the end for Tomlin after this, because they didn't nail this one and it just kept getting worse for them. They stayed in mediocrity.
Absolutely. And I think the thing is, when you spend 3 of your first 4 picks on skill position players, e.g., so Kenny Pickett as a quarterback in the first round, then they take Pickens in the second round, and then they take Calvin Austin, another wide receiver, in the 4th round. And so you're thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to be stacked at wide receivers, but really their only decent pick is Calvin Austin out of that, and he's average at best. So this, I would agree with you. This has been a complete bust for the Pittsburgh. Now, Ian, I don't know if you want to sidetrack or now or later, or if this is a discussion you want to have, but just about around the best wide receivers in this draft. I'm curious, where do you guys think Pickens falls, or do you want to have this conversation later?
No, we can go for it.
So if you think about it, in this draft class, because we're not going to necessarily touch on every team, but I'll just throw 5 names out there, and you tell me where you guys think you would rank them. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Jamison Williams. So those are all wide receivers that were drafted. Pickens, interestingly enough, Pickens is the only one that wasn't drafted in the first round. So, but of those, which ones would you rank as the best? Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Olave, Pickens, or Williams?
Manjot?
Good question here. I'd probably put Pickens at 1. The only guy I'd probably put up there above him, honestly, I'd say Garrett Wilson, because he's really been plagued by bad QB play with the Jets overall. So you haven't really seen the talent from Garrett Wilson as much. So I think Olave as well, he has a good case for number 1. He has the talent, but the injuries and the concussions have been massive for him as well. So I would go Pickens. I mean, he's had one good season really with Dallas, like one great season that is, and he did have a 1,000-yard season with Pittsburgh as well. But I think definitely it's 5 great names there for sure. But I'd put Pickens at my 1, and then probably Wilson at the 2. Olave, I'd put Olave at the 3 over London at 4, and Jamison at 5, only because he's a receiver 2 on his team. But Jamison definitely has a lot of talent himself.
Yeah, no, I just found that, I would consider this group a deep position for this draft at wide receiver, because you don't necessarily have like the Hall of Famer, but in that group, but you do have some really good, potential All Pro players. And you're right, I would completely agree with that Garrett Wilson. The fact that he's been able to do what he has with just, absolutely a Pee Wee League quarterback throwing to him. It's
Which one of them, Brad?
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah. So, case in point, he had nobody really throwing to him. So, yeah, it's an interesting discussion, interesting debate.
It is for sure. Look, for me, I think it's. I'm in a similar vein. Look, Drake London has had not great quarterback play either.
Yeah.
Yet he has succeeded quite well. I mean, look, when he was drafted, they had Mariota and Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
And then then he's had Heineke, and then he had Cousins, and then for a part of a season, then they went to Penix for no reason. And then obviously last year, Penix gets injured and they have Cousins again. So Kirk Cousins is probably the best QB he's played with on the Falcons. And yet he's managed to achieve some, I guess, almost nearly the same as Garrett Wilson. Interestingly enough, Wilson was the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2022. So he did have a very good first season and rookie season, but it did drop off after that. I would say for me, Olave is probably the most consistent out of those 5. When he is on the field, he is very good. But as
when
Manjot
he's on the
pointed,
field.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Manjot pointed out, it's the injuries and the concussions which have kept him off the field. Otherwise, I think we'd probably be looking at a guy that would be top of these 5. So it is, look, I would put Pickens up there with London and Wilson, and they'd be my top 3. J-Mo really hasn't done much of anything, has he, Manjot? It's just, he's been largely a first-round bust for the Lions, really. Like he's consistently there, but he hasn't. I don't think he's achieved what they thought he would have achieved as a first-round wide receiver pick.
I wouldn't say he's a bust, really. I think he's still a pretty good contributor on that football team. And yeah, the Lions, I mean, they got Aiden Hutchinson as well, if you want to talk about one of the best drafts as well. They had a really good first round, and I think with that as well, like they traded up to get Jamison Williams in this one. So I would say I think he's still under utilized in that offense because you had Sam Laporta as well come up one season. Jameer Gibbs has got a lot of touches. Montgomery, like they're a very run first team with those two. Montgomery now having gone, but you've got your couple running backs there. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown as your first receiver, and then Laporte is your tight end. That's like four mouths they feed before Jamison. But I still think he's a good pick. I wouldn't label him a bust necessarily because he's still a pretty good player. He's still on the team as well, which is very important when labeling a guy a bust. I would say is if they're on a team like 5 seasons down the track and contributing, I would say I'd lean to him not being a bust. Really, yeah.
I mean, more of like a first round bust in a way. Like it's a guy that you've picked in the first round, number 12 overall. You expected him to be like the guy at wide receiver, the number 1 for many years, and here we are down the way.
Yeah.
And can you really say he is your number 1?
Well, he's got 1,000
I mean?
yards the last couple of seasons, which 1,000 yards is pretty much the benchmark for both running backs and quarterbacks in terms of their respective yardage for like how good a player is. If you want to use that metric, I mean, yeah, and he catches a lot. He catches very few balls to get to 1,000 yards as well. Like he gets like 17 yards a catch, and it's insane.
Yeah.
He's got like both these last 2 years as well, 7 touchdowns each. So I would say he is playing his role pretty well. And I think when the Lions do need a big play to break open a game, like you think about his great playoff run against the Commanders, for example, they really needed a play in that game. They did lose, of course, but they needed a play to have a spark in that game. They did an end around with Jamison. He takes it like 60, 70 yards to the house. And that's the sort of player you get from Jamison Williams. He may not be the consistent number 1 guy, but he's still putting up great numbers. And maybe it is a bit disappointing, 12th overall. He doesn't get like 1,400, 1,500 yards. But I think sometimes as well, we've got to realize within the role and everything that I think Jamison is doing a great job. And I think the Lions would still probably pick him if he was there. I don't think they'd have many regrets. There might be a couple guys they would, if depending on how we did a full redraft, for example. But look, I haven't done one yet for this draft, but I think Jamison, yeah, he's still pretty good, and I'd still be happy if I was the Lions.
Interestingly enough, those 4 of those guys, 4 out of those 5, London, Wilson, Olave, and Williams, all 4 of them went within 5 picks. From 8 to 12, they were all drafted. So that's pretty amazing that you would have a run on receivers like that in the first round, and basically all 4 of those turned into legitimate NFL Pro Bowl players.
I'm still pissed about the fact that the Vikings let the Lions go up that high. From and we dropped from 12 to 32 for bugger all. Essentially, all we got really in compensation for that is a 34th and a 66th. Plus, we gave up another pick as well. When as a Vikings fan, there were some truly great names that were taken after number 12. If it wasn't Jamison Williams to start with, and I will point out one massive one that could have been amazing on a current Vikings defense in Trent McDuffie, who went to the Chiefs at 21. So, there's these sort of things, or there's a lot of other guys there that we could have picked. So I'm still pissed about that because that was a woeful draft. Manjot, let's you mentioned the Detroit Lions draft, so let's talk quickly about those grades. That was originally by consensus a B+. You've given it an A+, and I mean, how could anybody disagree when you have 4 out of the 8 selections that they made that season still as current starting players players on the current starting roster for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, I was pretty happy when I read back on it. I was like, oh, dang, this is a draft that really changed the franchise right here. And I think Aiden Hutchinson definitely at number 2. It was a big debate with the first overall pick for the Jaguars. Would they take Aiden Hutchinson? Will they take Trayvon Walker? They went with Trayvon Walker. I think the Lions got the better player for sure in Aiden Hutchinson. 2024, he was really amazing. If he didn't break his leg that season, he could have won Defensive Player of the Year as well. So he was a great pick at number 2. We talked about Jamison just then as well, who I think is a pretty good player. Kobe Joseph in the 3rd round as well, nailing that at safety was pretty great for them because they paired him with Brian Branch a year later in the 2023 draft. He came in the 1st round. So you had that safety duo, Kobe Joseph from 2022, and then Brian Branch came in 2023. And that was a really big part of why the Lions rose up in 2023 as well, in the back end, in their secondary as well. Malcolm Rodriguez, the other starter, he's pretty decent himself at linebacker. So 4 starters, I've got to give it an A+, I think, if they got like 4 or more starters. That was sort of my grading benchmark. If they got 4 more starters and at least 1 or 2 were superstars or star players, I'd have to give them an A+. So that's why the A+ was there for the Lions.
This is the first real Dan Campbell draft, wasn't it? Because obviously he came in 2021. The first season could always be a bit hit and miss, but this was the first one that was sort of like his vision as a total draft package from one season to the next. Like in terms of the scouting department, had 12 months to really bring his vision to life and go out and find those players that he himself said were just going to bite kneecaps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is the quintessential Lions draft. This is what I think got so many people excited, and especially Aiden Hutchinson, just like we've all said it, but just coming out of the blocks on fire like that from the get-go, and he's just such a likable guy. It was awesome. And you mentioned, Malcolm Rodriguez. I think that the show Hard Knocks gave him a huge bump, just in terms of popularity. But the fact that they got him the 6th round, and he's been a contributor to the team, it's cool to see. So no, I would agree with you. To get Aiden Hutchinson's, Kirby Joseph, 2 elite players. How often do you get elite players like best at their positions in one draft? That never happens. So yeah, you got to give this an A+.
Let's quickly talk about another team here that had an A+ from Manjot. Originally a B-, probably one of the biggest movers in the top end, Seattle Seahawks. Manjot, this was a pivotal draft for the Seahawks in 2022.
Yeah, they found some really good players here. If you're looking at the team that just won the Super Bowl as well, this was a draft that really built that Super Bowl champion team from what I saw. I mean, you had Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas, the 2 tackles, Charles Cross in the 1st round and Abraham Lucas in the 3rd round. You take both your tackles in one draft is pretty good, I would say, for the Seahawks. And then you add as well a couple of defensive starters, Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen in the back end of the secondary as well. So they really shored up the offensive line, then shored up the secondary. But in between all of that, they drafted a Super Bowl MVP in Kenneth Walker. So it was a great draft overall by Seattle. I mean, it was just incredible how they could find 5 contributors to the Super Bowl team just in that sort of draft. And you also had Boye Mafe as well, who was a pretty good backup as well. So you had another player there. And I mean, this was pretty obviously an A+ to me. I mean, you draft a Super Bowl MVP, it's probably that was probably enough to me, I reckon. But
the 2 tackles are the standout, to be honest, Manjot. Like that's we always talk, and everyone talks about, anybody that really follows the NFL talks about build the trenches. And you took the 2 tackles in this draft in your 1st and your 3rd round, and these guys end up as your starting tackles in a Super Bowl winning team just a few years later. That's how you build in the trenches. This is the way to do it, and you build from there. Brad, you posed the question earlier with wide receivers. I'm going to do the same with running backs. Running backs in this draft. Throw some names, boys. James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Tyler Algier, and Rashad White. Brad, how would you rank those guys?
Yeah,
in terms of right now.
Yeah. Well, I would say this. I would say Walker's got the most talent, and he really turned it on. But he had some injury issues. I would say overall consistency, I'd have to give it to Cook. Um, and then I love Brees Hall. I'd probably put Walker third. Although I love Algier as well. So I mean,
Weirdly, out of these five guys, Algier
yeah,
has by PFF metrics. Some
yeah.
people don't believe in that. He has the highest PFF grade of any running back in this class.
Does he
At,
really?
yeah,
Wow.
at 92.
Okay.
And it's just essentially they call him the efficiency king.
Yeah.
Ninth in
Right.
missed tackles forced, eighth in yak since 2022. So
It's,
yeah, you wouldn't have thought it from the Falcons.
Oh, gosh, and fantasy players would hate hearing that,
yeah.
honestly. I mean, they hate Algier. Gosh, if
That's right.
you ask Maddie and
That's
Taylor what
right.
they think about Tyler Algier, and they'll probably call him a vulture for stealing all the touchdowns from B. John Robinson all these years. Like, yeah, Algier would probably be the most hated fantasy guy. I mean, now he's at the Cardinals at this point. So
Yep.
now they
Yep.
drafted Jeremiah Love, so Jeremiah Love owners beware. I mean, don't draft
Yep.
Jeremiah Love, I reckon, because Algier's going to steal a lot of carries and touchdowns.
Not around Tyler Algier, it turns out.
Yeah.
So what do you reckon, Manjot? Who's at the top of your list out of those five?
Oh, I've got to give it to James Cook. He led the league in rushing last year. I would have to
Yeah.
say he has to be number one. And then I'd go Kenneth Walker number two. He won Super Bowl
Okay.
MVP and had a great playoffs as well. I think Kansas City, they did a really good job signing him from Seattle this offseason. I think he'll really rejuvenate that offense alongside Patrick Mahomes. And he's probably going to be their best running back that they've had alongside Mahomes as well. Brees Hall, pretty good. I'd have to say free for him. And then you had Algier and White, but then I'll probably put Rashad White above Tyler Algier potentially. Just I
Yeah.
think Rashad White just he had a bit more consistency, a bit more of a bell cow over the years for the Buccaneers compared to compared to Tyler Algier, who had to play as a
Mhm.
backup after a year or so when they drafted B. John Robinson. So we didn't really see as much from Algier as we did with Rashad White, although Rashad White now he had to contend with Bucky Irving the last couple of years he was at the Bucks. So yeah, I'd probably just put Rashad White over Tyler Algier, but both are pretty solid, I would say as well.
When was Algier drafted though? Let's see. To me, that would be Algier
Algier was the
versus-
fifth round.
And when
Pick
was
151.
Okay, and then none of those backs were first round picks.
No, so Cook, Walker, and Hall were all second round, and White was a third round.
Yeah, so to me, that tiebreaker would be value for money. So I would put Algier over White,
That's
for
fair
sure.
call.
But that's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't it strange when you look at these five guys too, and you look at some of their numbers? Cook, Brees Hall, and Rashad White are all guys who are so proficient in the reception game as well. They're not just pure running backs. They're not pure like just head down, straight at a hole in the defense kind of running backs. These are guys that get out on the edge. The receiving game is still such a huge amount of their game. Rashad White, for instance, has 205 career receptions already in the in just a few years,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
right.
which is just a lot. And obviously, Brees Hall has been that way as well. He's been, unfortunately, again, we talked about the Jets earlier with Garrett Wilson. He's been on a team with such bad play overall. It's not even quarterback play. It's just bad teams. And then James Cook, obviously, I mean, we talk about it all the time. He's, in terms of betting wise, James Cook anytime touchdown is just a given on any
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills game. Whether it comes through reception or on the ground, it doesn't matter. He's just in there. So it'd be amazing. I think Cook is at the top for me, without a doubt. I love him as a player. Just everything that he gives, the value to the team, everything.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'd raise this other question as well while we're looking at questions. which draft did you guys think was the best? Because that's actually one that's been sort of it's been like playing with me this whole time. Like, just look when I've done this whole article, I'm like, dang, there's like 3 or 4 drafts I could probably put at the top. Like,
Oh
I
gosh,
think
you're
Ian initially
As in-
asked me to rank these as well. And I'm like, God, I just need. Can you just let me do letter grades, man? Because because ranking these would have been way harder. Because man, I would have moved around the top like quite a lot. But probably my contenders for the top drafts, honestly, we talked about Seahawks, awesome draft they had. The Jets, I mean, they got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, Jermaine Johnson in their four in their first 4 picks. And those 4 were really good contributors when they were at the Jets as well. So I'd put them up there. I mean, the Eagles, they did quite a lot with 5 picks. They traded for AJ Brown.
Could you imagine just the Jets? Could you imagine that Jets draft class with competent coaching?
Yeah, with a quarterback.
Or with
a quarterback.
Quarterback play.
You picked up an actual quarterback, a veteran quarterback that could actually do something and help the team, and you had competent coaching to go along with it, and you have those guys in terms of Sauce, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Brees Hall as the top 4 players in your draft, all of which were in the first 2 rounds, which is insane. The Jets should be massive contenders, but instead, these guys aren't even on the team anymore.
Well, and I feel like they did have good quarterback or coaching with Salah, Robert Salah, but it's still
he wasn't supported though. I think that's the biggest problem
exactly
with Robert
right.
Salah.
Yeah, he wasn't. But any other team, you tell me that you're going to get 2 elite players, Gardner and Wilson, and I would probably say Hall is on the cusp of being elite. Again, you'd think, yes, exactly to your point, they would be contenders, but no, they are a laughingstock. But the hype around them was elite when they brought in Aaron Rodgers, because everybody was saying, okay, he's going to be the missing piece, and obviously, look how that turned out.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to also I know people would probably argue they got Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson in the top 10 picks. Well, my counter argument, in terms of, obviously they should have drafted that good if they got 2 top 10 picks. If you look at the other New York team, they also had 2 top 10 picks, and they got Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, and both of them, they haven't really turned out that well for the Giants. So,
not relative to when they were drafted. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'd say can't really knock the Jets for using their picks really well in that draft. I think this is probably the best draft the Jets have had in memory for me, I would say. So I'd have to put them up there. Other contenders I have for top draft as well. Baltimore, I think they had a really good draft. They got Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum in the first round. Yeah, when they traded away Hollywood Brown, they got Tyler Linderbaum as well. So a couple good picks there. They had Travis Jones, Daniel Falele, their punter Jordan Stout, Isaiah Likely. There was a few great names here. So a few guys that were in their sort of starters or their backups that were really good. So I thought they had a really great draft overall. The Ravens.
Please don't ever mention a punter and good draft in the same sentence, Manjot. Thank you.
I know sometimes, the punter can be pretty bad of a pick, but I think Jordan Stout's a pretty decent punter. So had to give them some credit as well.
I actually think the Ravens would be my pick for the top in this draft, based off that Hamilton, that Linderbaum picks. Daniel Falele has actually been reasonably good for them as well. The Isaiah Likely pick in what was it, number 139? He's so far down the pick, the list, but he's likely has been great for them as a tight end. Far better than Charlie Kohler, who they picked ahead of him.
It's always funny when they pick a couple guys in the same position at tight end. They do the same in one draft where they got Hayden Hurst and then Mark Andrews, I think, in the same draft as well. Just
Yeah,
a
I think
funny Ravens
something
thing.
in your article that you wrote about them as well is that all these guys helped raise the Ravens' floor.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest part for me, and I think that's why I would probably pick them in that, because they really did raise the Ravens' floor to the point that they're at that point where they are now, where we're all wishing that they would push themselves and take that extra step because they've raised that floor so much. But it's set them up for where they are right now, 4 years down the track.
Definitely set them up for the 23 championship game run. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally, if we're talking about the best center, I'd probably give it to the Chiefs. Because and again, I'm going back to a little bit of a value for where they picked him, because they pick up Trent McDuffie in the pick 21, and elite corner. They get Leo Chenal, linebacker. He in the 3rd round, he's elite as well. Karloftis is running back, or sorry, defensive end. He's good. He's not amazing, but he's good. And the one I love, even though the longevity hasn't necessarily been there, but getting Isaiah Pacheco in the 7th round. I mean,
that's value for money right there, isn't it, Brad?
Isn't it? So to be able to get, he's done a disservice to his draft, or to the cohorts, the running back position group, in the sense of, it just goes to show you can draft a running back really late and still get production out of them.
Yeah.
So, but the 7th round, like, you're fighting to make the team in the 7th round. There ain't no guarantees with that, and he had some really good time there. He was 1,000-yard rusher when they did their Super Bowl runs. So I think, and then safety Brian Cook, who signed just a massive deal. So yeah, they've got some good value out of that pick.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, go Manjot.
Yeah, I think that's where I was sort of like leaning as well. The Chiefs, I think, were probably the best draft for me as well. I think it really set them up.
Okay.
They did win back-to-back Super Bowls straight after this draft as well. So I think it was really, really important if you look in that sense. Like McDuffie is a shutdown corner for both of those teams. Karloftis, he got a fumble recovery in a Super Bowl. Even Sky Moore scored a big touchdown against the Eagles in that Super Bowl that year as well. That was the corn dog play. So he was very important. Yeah, so even if he didn't pan out for the rest of his Chiefs career, he's still in Chiefs folklore forever. Yeah, like you said, Brian Cook, Leo Chenal, even Jalen Watson, they're all defensive starters, and Pacheco definitely awesome pick there, Brad, I would say. Probably the best value out there for 7th rounders. Apart from one name that I still haven't mentioned yet.
Oh.
Let's talk then about that one most important position in all of football, the quarterback. The top 5 guys in this draft class, 3 of which have been absolute busts. One in Malik Willis got a big contract this season from the Dolphins after going from, as we said, the Titans to the Packers, and then getting some backup stuff, some starts last season because of the Jordan Love injuries, and then he earns himself a big contract with the Dolphins. He is in there as well, but Mr. Irrelevant, forever Mr. Irrelevant, the number 1, Brock Purdy, was in this. And when we talk about value for money and value for what you get in a pick, it should be an A+. This should be an A++ as a pick.
Yeah, I hate saying it because it's the 49ers, but it's unreal the value they got at this position, or this position at this time. It's just it's not just that he was the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, round 7, numbers 262. It's not just that. It's the fact that even if he was pick number 1, he would have been good value. So yeah. I think that's the amazing thing. But he's your boy, Manjot. What do you got to say about him?
I gotta say I've said enough about him over the years. It's been 4 years of watching this guy play, and really, like,
I think I think I just heard Matty C's eyes roll back in his head
Yeah.
too, by the way, because Manjot started to talk about Brock Purdy
I'm
again.
like, Matty C, gonna shut off the podcast.
Matty says, Manjot's talking about Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he better be lucky with 45 minutes in, and only now I bring him up. Yeah, but if you look at the rest of that Niners draft class, God,
Yeah.
I was so close to giving it an F. If it wasn't for the last name on there, it was the last name in the whole of the draft.
Man,
it was an awful draft. They had Trey Lance trade as well, which took away the first round pick. So in 2021, so no first round pick in 2022. And yet Brock Purdy, he pretty much saved the whole franchise from that disaster of a trade. Like, you go from having an absolute bust in Trey Lance at number 3 to someone of insane value. Like, just if we looked at the Pro Football reference weighted approximate value metric that Brad put in our spreadsheets and everything, Brock Purdy's actually the number 1 guy out of everyone in that draft class. And he was the last guy taken. He was the number 1 guy in that metric, which is just incredible, to say the least.
Yeah, 100%. And if anyone doesn't know, the other quarterbacks in that top 5 in that class, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, and of course Malik Willis. Pickett, Ridder, and Howell all basically have also Rans.
Yeah. Lucky to be a backup.
Yeah, lucky to be backups, exactly.
Yeah.
Just been around many teams so far. I don't think Ritter's even got a team at the moment. Sam Howell might not as well. I can't remember. I don't think he's still in the Vikings. But, so these guys, it was a terrible QB class. From what it presented as early on, it ended up being woeful.
Yeah. You're right. And Purdy saved that entire position group by far. Because even though quarterbacks only have success, like 50, 60% of the first round quarterbacks are only successful 50, 60% of the time, to really only have, as of now, 4 years later, 1 legitimate starter from that position group, that's pretty bad. So and I would agree with you, Manjot, about your earlier assessment. I hate talking about the Niners, but I'm happy to do it when it talks about how sucky they are. That draft was awful.
Horrible.
It was absolutely atrocious. I could, if it wasn't for Purdy, I would have ranked that as the worst draft in the NFL that season, because they had a second and 2/3, and they were all busts. Drake Jackson, edge; Davis Price, running back; Danny Gray, wide receiver.
Don't get me started on that running back. That running back in the 3rd round. There's a reason why when we picked Kalen Black this season, I went on, like, my Instagram reaction. Getting a running back in the 3rd round, I'm like, shit, here we go again. There's a reason, because they never work out.
I don't know a lot of these. To be honest, I don't know a lot of these names, and this probably answers my question.
Yeah,
this probably answers my question.
Yeah.
Is there anybody there that even started in the last couple of years?
Nah, not really.
Other than Brock Purdy?
Spencer, the offensive lineman.
Yeah,
Burford.
He was
Spencer Burford.
Yeah, he was playing guard, but he wasn't that great. Honestly, I was.
But he was. Yeah. But he's serviceable. Like, he started. But in terms of...
But that shows you how bad they are. Where you can't even name... Like me, I don't know all the 49ers players, okay? And I don't know their depth too much unless I do some research into them. But there are no names that stand out there past Brock Purdy for me. There's not guys that I've even heard mentioned in NFL circles, and I listen to a lot of different NFL sort of content, be it the NFL media or just actual just content creators. And these are not names that I hear, I know. So if someone else is a casual, God, they would look at this and go, "Who are all these dudes?"
Yeah, gosh, I had those moments with a lot of the teams. I put like low grades on, like F grades and D grades, and I was like, who's this guy? Who's that guy? I'm like, dang, I haven't heard that name in a while and everything. Like, you mentioned Sam Howell when I was doing the Commanders grade. Spoiler alert, I gave them an F for that draft as well. I was like, Sam Howell. I was like, oh crap, I haven't heard his name in a while. Did a little research. I was like, oh yeah, he led the league in interceptions in 2023. So yeah, there's a few names there where you're like, oh, I haven't heard him in a while. I don't know who he is.
But-
Yeah.
So what we're on, just as a last thing while we're on QBs, something interesting that happened because Malik Willis got signed to the Dolphins this season. So Malik Willis was originally drafted by the Tennessee Titans, and he's one of the guys that he replaced now at the Dolphins. Originally in this draft, the Miami Dolphins got a pick from the Tennessee Titans, a 7th rounder, to pick Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Even crazy, he also started a playoff game like Brock Purdy in his rookie season as well against the Bills.
That's right. That's
He
right.
did.
Yep, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
he
Almost
did,
won
so-
that too. Almost one of the biggest upsets there.
All right, so that's I made sure we had to cover QBs. So
Yes. Do we want to talk about who we would say is the top draft pick or the
100%,
top
100%, Brad. I was just about to get to that. So in this draft, top 5 picks. The Jags picked Trayvon Walker number 1. The Lions picked Aiden Hutchinson at 2. The Texans picked Derek Stingley Jr. at number 3. The Jets picked Sauce Gardner at 4. And the Giants picked Kayvon Thibodeau at 5. Boys, I want to know who you would pick for those teams, those top 5. Out of all of the players in the draft now, who would you pick for those top 5 teams if you can think back at what their positions of need was or what you could have seen in the future given what these guys are? Who would you pick for that top 5? Manjot, you start. How about you start for us? Who would you pick first overall?
Yeah, I think the Jags, if they had their time again, they'd pick Aiden Hutchinson. I think he would be the number 1 pick in this draft. I think just based off the needs that they had, they picked a defensive end not as good as Aiden Hutchinson. So I'd go Aiden Hutchinson at the 1 there.
And then, your 2 through 5, who would you go?
Yeah, I'd go Lions because if they don't get Hutchinson, they need a corner. So I went Sauce Gardner. Texans kept Derek Stingley. I think that's probably the order you'd probably go there. Then the Jets gets a bit interesting there. I'd probably put Brock Purdy there just because they need a quarterback. And then the Giants, yeah, they probably did need a pass catcher the last few years as well. So maybe a guy you could put up there like a Drake London would do pretty well in New York, I would say. That's the sort of guy they probably would have needed the last few years. So that's sort of the top 5 there for me.
Brad, what are your thoughts?
So Jacksonville, I would agree with Manjot. I'd take Hutchinson number 1, and then Detroit. So Hutchinson's off the board. I'm taking Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah.
Safety, and then so we've got Houston at 3. I would have taken Purdy if we're doing a complete redraft, and then I would probably go with the Jets taking Sauce again, and then Giants maybe taking Stingley. So
I'd actually put now that you mentioned Hamilton, I'll put Hamilton at the 5 instead of Drake London. Yeah.
Okay.
Good shout there. Yeah.
So what's interesting there to me is that both of you still kept those top 2 cornerbacks as Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
And neither of you said that you would take Trent McDuffie in one of those positions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would, for me, Trent McDuffie is better than both of those guys.
You can make that case. Yeah.
It's definitely better than Sauce Gardner.
It's
Well,
valid.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. In terms of consistency, I would agree with you.
And in terms of a leader on the team, because that's what McDuffie was. I think him.
I'd rather have McDuffie in the locker room. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I think I'd take Stingley as my number 1 corner. Really, I think Sauce probably. I think Sauce was more talented at the time of the draft than Stingley, in my opinion. So I think that's why I probably would put Sauce in at my number 2 if we did a redraft. But yeah, Stingley, I think he's really transformed Houston into a top 5, top 3 defense. Him and even Jalen Petrie as well, who was in the same draft. Like those two were great picks for Houston, and they really transformed that defense on the back end before they got Will Anderson as well. So it's a really, yeah, I would say Derek Stingley would be my number 1. And then, yeah, you couldn't make the case McDuffie is better than Sauce Gardner. I think defensive back was probably the best position overall in the whole draft between safeties and corners. I think just the names on that
unreal.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty unreal to have Gardner, Stingley, McDuffie.
There's so many other good names in that cornerback position
Yeah.
as well for defensive back.
Yep.
There's some real whiffs. I know that for sure as a Minnesota fan. Thanks, Andrew Booth Jr.
Yeah, and Lewis Seen, unfortunately.
And Caleb Evans. That's all downhill for as a Vikings fan. But yeah, you've got Rick Woolen, Deron Bland. There's so many guys in that class. As defensive backs was just phenomenal when you look at the overall talent level, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. Amazing chat for our 5th time doing this exercise. We change it a little bit every year.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the way we did it this year.
So do I.
Yeah.
The one year we did. Well, I remember we started off doing an entire
Redraft?
1 through 32 redraft. That was tough. That
was
one was
brutal.
That was brutal. And you could probably go and listen to that back if you care to go into the annals of history of G'day Gridiron.
Who doesn't love to go into an annal? I mean, really.
You can search for that on. It's actually not on the AGN feed. It's on the G'day Gridiron podcast feed way back when.
Yeah.
All
Brad,
those
be
original
careful
episodes.
with them jokes now. You're a commentator. You got to toe the line a little bit, man. Come on, fellow commentator here.
Do you know me, Manjot?
I'm surprised a few of them didn't come out during commentating, to be honest.
Oh,
Manjot.
they did.
They did.
There was a couple, but I don't want it. I don't want to shine any light on them.
It's all right. I know someone else who's probably going to shine some lights on it for you, Brad. But that will be on the episode later this week with Nick and Isaac. So, as I said at the top, you can find all of this 2022 NFL Draft regrade from Manjot on our Substack. If you look for Aussie Gridiron Network on Substack, or of course, as we said, check out and follow all the socials for the links when that comes out live. So at Linktree/Aussie Gridiron Network, you'll get the links to everybody. G'day Gridiron specifically is at G'day Gridiron, Instagram, Facebook. We will be back later in the week, Brad and I, with Nick and Isaac to do a little bit of a recap of that men's final game between Queensland and Victoria. And we will be doing the first of our deep dives into some teams for this season. We're going to do a deep dive into the Las Vegas Raiders this week. So look out for that later on in the week. Thank you very much, MJ, for coming on once again. It's always great to have you back with Brad and I.
Yeah, it's always great to be back with you boys. I miss it every day, honestly. I think about coming back. So, yeah, I'm just glad to be back, guys, and I can't wait for the next time.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, well, we'll have to get you back on sooner than 12 months from now. So let's work on that.
The calendar will be a lot lighter towards the season. Let me say, there's going to be a lot more content for me. Yeah.
If everyone has been missing content and bulk content from Manjot, it is because he is doing a very, very important uni degree, and he is at the very skinny end of that uni degree. So, we've been trying to toe the line as much as we can at AGN and doing a lot more on socials. The boys and I, we've been learning, Manjot. We've all been learning hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, don't worry. I still give you guys advice here and there. So,
I know.
Yeah.
We still have to go to the millennial to go. Sorry, what are you?
Gen Z. Yeah.
Gen Z to go, hey, Manjot, how do I do this on Instagram? Because,
Yeah.
Because isn't it, Brad? It's not life unless your kids are teaching you how to do something.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you all later on in the week. And yeah. Anyway, catch everything else AGN at the Link Tree. See ya.
Thank you, everyone.